Hello everybody and welcome back to Cooking with Grandma. Today we are not, unfortunately and very sadly, not cooking. I still have not got the element for my oven. So, I can show you dishes in the skillet or whatever. But today what I'm going to do is I did this on my very first video. And I'm going to try to just go over a little bit. I'm going to go over tips and tricks that I've learned in my many years of cooking, and I'm going to show you some things that I've learned, some things that I found out myself, the equipment that you need to get you started to have a good, well-equipped kitchen. It really doesn't cost you much to set it up, and then once you have it, you have it. Like, you got your measuring cup here, and you got pots and pans and utensils, that sort of thing. You need wooden spoons. There you go. That's a well-used wooden spoon. See all the nicks in there? That's been caught up in my mixer a few times. You need rubber spatulas when you're making cakes to scrape them out. You need a brush to baste things. Brush on, if you're having meat in the oven, you're putting, brushing butter on the top of pies, or if you brush barbecue sauce on some ribs or something. And of course you need a nice big let me move my measuring cup. Nice big mixing bowl. I've got a variety of sizes because you always want to have nice big sizes. You need measuring cups. These measuring cups are for dry ingredients. They're the flat ones. And these measuring cups are for wet, because you see that's got the spout here. That'll give you, I'll show you how the difference if you measure from here versus the dry cups. I'll show you the difference both with wet, and you're going to be surprised. I was very shocked. You should probably also have a whisk. This one's really cool. I got this years ago at a kitchen store, and it's adjustable. You push this down and then push the spring, and it makes it small. And then when you release it, put it back up, and it's a nice big whisk. So it's good, you don't have to have two different, it doesn't matter if you have 2 or 3 different sizes. A whisk is a whisk. It doesn't really matter. But you need one of those to make cheese sauce and gravies and that kind of thing. And you want a set of measuring spoons. This has got the tablespoon, half a tablespoon, teaspoon, half a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon, and 1/8 of a teaspoon. Right from the biggest right down to the smallest. And if you don't have those, you don't have to buy those. You can use your kitchen spoons. You can use a tablespoon, and you can use a teaspoon. It's a little trickier. Obviously a half of a tablespoon, you just knock it in half. You just scoop out half of what you're doing. Teaspoon, same thing but when you want to do the 1/4 of a spoonful or an 1/8, it's like, it's right there for an 1/8 and right there for a 1/4. It's a little trickier till you get playing around with it, but it's doable. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Now, I got this set of measuring spoons at the Dollarama, and it was $2.50. So I've got all my, tablespoon half, teaspoon half, 1/4. So there's 6 in there. I've got this is here. We picked that up, I believe, at a garage sale. Nice, and it's a Firestone, Fire King. So it can go, in dishwasher or oven or anything. It won't break. It's thick. And like the scrapers, you can get a set of 3 of these at the dollar store for, $2, $3, a Dollar Tree, Dollarama, wherever, Walmart, anywhere. Any of that kind of stuff you can get not for that expensive. And you also want, when you're baking, I'm going to show you let's see, I'll scoop this out of the way. You want a nice big, this is your 9 by 12. You can bake in here cakes as well as foods. Now this is like so well used, I just always cover it with tin foil or with parchment, because you see all the scrapes and the scratches. It is so well loved that I've just used it to death. But I still use it, I just cover the bottom of it. When it gets to the point where this stuff starts coming off, then you think, oh, okay, if you don't cover it, then you got to chuck it out and buy a new one. You go to Walmart, they're like $5. Not bad. But once you have them for a long time. And then, of course, you want to have cookie sheets. Again, look at that, well loved. They say that when it gets like that, then the flavors just get right into everything. Now that's okay but depending on what you're putting on it. If I'm baking cookies, I generally try to have parchment paper on hand so I can line it. It's so much easier for cleanup. Plus, then nothing sticks, and you don't have to oil and grease and have that extra fat. And you want a wire rack. when you're making cookies or cakes. Not so much cakes because you'll get the marks, the real marks, but for cookies, you definitely want a wire rack to set down and take your cookies off the cookie sheet. Because if you leave them on the hot cookie sheet, here's my another tip for you. If you leave them on the cookie sheet, they will continue baking because that cookie sheet is hot. So, and then you want an array of cookbooks. You can find every recipe you ever wanted online if you don't want to go spend the money. I got this one, Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. Or sorry, Better Homes and Gardens. That's right. I always want to say Betty Crocker. I did have a Betty Crocker one. It kind of fell apart. Better Homes and Gardens. This has got everything. It's got a lot of tips in the front. It's got a lot of, there's some substitutions if you don't have certain things. But then it's got all your, there's got cooking basics. You see if you flip the page over, and it tells you all kind of, you know, tools and tricks. Everything that I'm explaining to you here, this is what it's got in it. And then it's got breads and cakes and cookies and grilling and vegetables and sauces and spaghetti and pasta. You name it, it's in here. So you have those. And I did forget this. This is not essential, but it's handy. This is a pastry blender. When you're mixing for pie crust, you put the flour and the butter and you just go like this and chop up that butter into the flour, and it gets nice and crumbly. You can use 2 butter knives, crisscross back and forth, and it'll do the same trick. But I happen to have picked one up for a couple of bucks, and tell you, they last forever. They really do. This is dough blender, it's called, but you know, pastry blender. And then, of course, you would more than likely, eventually you're going to need a mixer. I don't have a stand mixer. That's my next big purchase. When I start getting famous and making YouTube videos and I start getting paid for YouTube, I'm going to buy me a big old mixer, stand mixer. You need that, and of course your beaters. So those are kind of like your essentials for the cooking. You need the bowls, the utensils, the measuring things. Now I'm going to show you a little tip here. You've got a 2-cup measuring cup here. Now, or actually, you know what? I'm going to switch to the 1 cup so you can see it better. Got a 1-cup measuring cup. And I have, this is my liquid one because there's the spout right there. So I have a cup of water in my flat, in my dry ingredients measuring cup. I'm going to pour it in here and we're going to see if it equals up to a cup. What I like about these Pyrex spoons is they have a cup, but on the other side they have it in milliliters and milliliters, and on the other side it's got the cups and the ounces, and the old way to do it. And if you're doing the metric, then you can have both. So I'm going to pour this 1 cup, and you can see that it's filled right up. It's 1 cup of water. I'm going to pour it in my measuring cup, and it's supposed to be 1 cup of liquid. Now, you see where it is? It is 1/4 of a cup less than 1 cup. So if you're baking a cake and you calls for 1 cup of milk and you measure it with your dry ingredient measuring cup, there it is. It's just a titch over 3/4 of a cup. So you're getting 1/4 of a cup less milk or liquid of any sort that you should have. And if you do that, then your recipes aren't going to turn out so right. So now I'm going to get, let's see, I'll get some flour. And I'm going to show you the difference when you measure dry ingredients. Let's move this out of the way because it's wet. I'm going to put dry ingredients in here in my liquid measuring cup. I'm going to do 1/2 cup of flour, and then I'm going to pour it into my 1/2 cup of my short measuring cup, and we're going to see the difference. So I'm going to measure it out with my 1/2 cup measuring cup. So that's what I would have done for 1/2 cup of flour. I dipped it in and leveled it off. So now if I would have measured it in here, I'm going to pour that, tap it, make sure it's all in there. Give it a little tap to make it even. And come on now, get it out. Just a minute, got to get it nice and settled. And you'll see that it is just under the half a cup. It's only about 1/8 of a cup off, but when you're baking, especially baking, that makes a difference. It is very much more noticeable with liquids, but this is my liquid measuring cup, and I put the powder, so it's just under a half a cup. Where if I was to measure it in my flat measuring cup, boom, exactly half a cup. So those are some tips and some tricks, and I'm going to do a couple of other things really quickly here before I close off. They're called kitchen conversions, and what they are is it shows you. This is a magnet I got from a Remax real estate company. Boy, my brain went silly for a minute. So what it is, and I have looked this in my Betty Crocker book or Betty Homes and Garden book, it has the same thing. So there you see 1 cup. If you want to measure it, it's 8 ounces or 16 tablespoons or 48 teaspoons, or in milliliters 237. And it goes right down, 3/4 of a cup, 2/3 right there, all the way down, and it tells you how much everything is. So like 1/16 of a cup, which is really small, like you can hardly find that on your measuring cup, but you know it is. You can just put a tablespoon or 3 teaspoons. And another hint, 3 teaspoons is the same thing as 1 tablespoon. So leave that on the screen just for a second. So if any of y'all want to, copy it or whatever, you can always pause the video. That's fine too, and get it. So for today, that's about all we're going to do. Now, I just went over as much as I can think of offhand. You don't have to go crazy buying equipment. Just buy the basic stuff and have in your pantry. You want to have flour, sugar, cinnamon, vanilla. This is baking stuff mostly. Let's see. Cocoa. You want to do chocolate stuff. You can buy chocolate chips if you want, or in my previous videos I've shown you how to use cocoa and make it into melted chocolate. Just remember though that if it's unsweetened cocoa, you do have to add sugar to it, because unless you like bittersweet chocolate, okay. And then let's see, you need flour, sugar, cocoa, vanilla, cinnamon, sometimes nutmeg depending on what you're making. I usually use cinnamon. Even if it calls for nutmeg, or allspice, I just usually use cinnamon. Nutmeg is very harsh, and you only need a tiny little pinch because it will overpower something very, very quickly. You can buy raisins and walnuts, and there you go to the bulk barn for things like that, because they're much cheaper and you can get more bang for your buck. And then, like you always want, obviously your meats and the potatoes and rice and noodles and pasta sauces. Your veggies, if you're going to make anything, you can make tomatoes. If you're going to make homemade spaghetti sauce, you want tomatoes and peppers and onions. Those are just your basics that you need when you go grocery shop. Milk, eggs, butter, sour cream. You don't have to be rich, and you don't have to spend half your paycheck filling up your refrigerator and your cupboard. Because like you buy a big 10-pound bag of flour, and unless you bake like every single day and go through it like crazy, it's going to last you quite a while. And you have the 3-pound bag of sugar, I think they come in nowadays, or 5-pound. That kind of thing lasts a while. And icing sugar if you want to make homemade frosting. You can get cake mixes, and they're okay. I have absolutely used cake mixes a lot of times. But if you're making a cake that you want to shape or cut out into things, because I don't make very many regular cakes, I make shape cakes for my kids and grandkids. So if you make a homemade cake, it's denser and it's easier to carve. Like I've made Lightning McQueen, and I've made let's see, oh gosh, I've made so many. I've made Legos, and I've made a train set, and I have made an alligator and a shark, and I can't even begin to. I'd have to go look at my list and see what all I've made. I've made so many over the years. I made an anti-gravity cake with the bag of Skittles pouring out. That was pretty easy. I thought, how in the heck am I going to do that? But it's very, very easy. If you go to just call up anti-gravity cakes, and there's a YouTube video that shows you, and it's super easy. I made one that looked like a teapot and a cup and saucer. I even made the tea bag. I used a licorice all sort. A white and black licorice all sort, and the only thing that was fake on that cake was the string to make for the tea bag, because I couldn't find anything to mimic a string, because the strings on the tea bag are white, and I was going to use licorice, but it's not white. So therefore, couldn't use it. But anyway, that's all for today. If you have any questions or want to know any other tips and tricks, leave me a comment in this video, and I check my videos almost every day, at least every other day, and I check the comments. So please feel free to leave me a comment and ask me any question you want. If there's something you would like to see me make in the future, let me know. I appreciate it when you make mention of it. There was one viewer that I made a cake for, and there was another viewer that I made the Sex in the Pan pudding cake. That was delicious. Oh my goodness, that was so good. And that one got the most views out of all my videos. I got well over 200 views. And I'm thinking, oh, that's so fantastic. And then I watch Miss Debbie, and she gets, 10,000 views in 2 hours, but that's okay. I'll get to her status. I'll get there. But keep them coming. Keep the views coming. Keep the likes coming. Comment, ring the bell so you know when I'm back in my kitchen, and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you have subscribed, thank you very much, and pass it on to your friends about the kind of quality videos you're going to see. My idea is cooking on a budget and baking on a budget. I don't spend a lot of money. I don't want to make things that are extravagant. We're kind of a simple folk, and we just like basic down-home cuisine, just comfort food and just easy peasy and stuff that's not going to take half your paycheck to buy. So on that note, I'm going to close off for now, and have a good day, everybody, and I hope this was informative for you. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Bye-bye now. Bye.